and welcome to Was a Matrix Exam Guide. Today we're doing Maths Paper 2. My name is Looney and I'll be assisting you to get all your questions through to us. All you need to do is follow us on our social media pages, Was a Matrix, and hit us up on our WhatsApp line. There's so many competitions going on, guys, so please stay tuned to get more details. As always, I am never alone. With me are Sia and our sign language interpreter, Keta. Thank you so much, guys. Over to you.
All right. Welcome, guys. Thank you, Looney, for that. As Looney said, we are doing some exam guide on paper 2. So let's just jump right into it. So what does the paper look like? We know that the paper always carries 150 marks. So approximately you have a minute for each and every mark that you have, or over a minute. And you have 3 hours to complete the 150 marks in terms of the question paper. As there's generally 10 questions, it might be 11, but mostly it's like 10 questions that we deal with there. You need to please answer all the questions in the question paper. And then also there is instructions and there is an information page that you need to look at. You need to read and follow the instructions carefully. Now, one of the instructions that most of us do not follow, especially with paper 2, is when they say round off to 2 decimal places. You know, on the instruction, it says you need to round off to 2 decimal places unless told otherwise. So please note that and then follow it accordingly as I believe. And then you must number all your answers exactly as they are numbered. So if there is an error and there's 2.1s, you write 2.1 twice. And then show all your working because that's where your marks are. And then also the very first question that we deal with, which are the first 2 questions, it's statistics, which is 20 plus or minus 3 marks. And then here you need to be determining the least squares regression line, the correlation coefficient. So the very first 2 concepts, guys, they are mainly on your calculator. You know you don't do this manually. You need to be pressing your calculator in order to do this. So you know it's your mode setup. You choose number 2. If maybe you're using the gray calculator, if you're using the silver one, you choose number 3, and you opt for A plus BX, which shows the least regression line. So please remember how to do that. And then also there is what we call the modal class. Modal class, the word modal means we're talking about a mode, so the most frequent number. So when we say now modal class, we're talking about the class that has the highest frequency. And then lastly, it's the concept of cumulative frequency, which assists us in drawing our ogive. And then question 3 and 4 will be analytical geometry. So with analytical geometry, guys, there's always 2 questions of analytical geometry. The first one is your grade 11 analytical. The second question is your grade 12 analytical. Grade 11 will be your distance, midpoint, gradient, equation of a line, angle of inclination. Those are the things you need to know there. With the second question of analytical geometry is mostly circle analytical geometry. So you're finding your equation of a circle, you're finding the center of a circle, you're finding the radius of the circle. So those are the 2 questions that you're always going to have. And they range between 40 plus minus 3 marks. Now, as I said, you will need to know how to calculate the equation of a line and a tangent, and also that of a circle, and then use the gradient to find angle of inclination. Lastly, use the distance to find coordinates of a point. Then our question 5 and question 6 will be trigonometry, which is mostly 30 plus or minus 3 marks. Specifically here, I'm talking about the theory of geometry. That's what we're talking about here. So your reduction formulae, your identities, and all of those. So you need to know how to simplify expressions without using a calculator. Now I know you think we are not with you in the exam room, which is very true, but trust me, we can see when you use your calculator when you are solving your questions. So please do yourself a favor, don't look at the calculator when they say without the use of a calculator. But you can always try to, maybe if you are given 210, you can play around your calculator to find the actual reduction formulae, but not to solve the actual question, please. And then also, you need to know your general solution. So general solution, the most important thing here is what we call the reference angle, please. So you need to remember that. That's the very most important thing. And then the range of a tree graph. When you talk about range, remember we're talking about the y values. Then lastly, the points on a graph. So points on a graph, we're talking about your amplitude, we're talking about your maximum and your minimum. You can see them on the graph. So that's what I'm really talking about there. And then our question 7 is also trigonometry, but now it's our application of trigonometry. Now application, we're talking about both 2D and 3D. That's mainly where we apply our trigonometry. So we use the ratios to express lengths in terms of x. Guys, I know when they say in terms of x, they do not mean you need to solve for x. It simply means that your answer should have x as one of the variables that are there. It might have other variables, but as long as there is x in your answer, then you have answered the question correctly. Don't solve for x, because that's not what the question would want you to do there. And then the other important thing is we only use the ratios if we are given a right-angled triangle. So that's one of the other things you need to please remember there. And then with the rules I'm talking about, remember there's 3 rules that we look at. It's our sine rule, our cosine rule, and our area rule. So those are the rules we're talking about. You use them to find angles, and you also use them to find an area of a triangle. So remember, if you want to find angles, you can use either your sine rule or your cosine rule, depending on what you are given. So you always need to write down the given information in order to decide which rule to use between the two. The last one is area of the triangle. Only if the triangle is a non-right-angled triangle, then you can use the area rule. But if it's a right-angled, you know it's half base times height. And then also our question 8 to 10 will be Euclidean geometry and measurement. Now, I know Euclidean geometry seems to be the most difficult question, but I've seen a lot of you guys do so well in that particular question. The diagnostic report has also indicated that you guys are now mastering your Euclidean geometry, so keep up the good work. The main thing that you need to know is I need reasons. When you're writing down what you are thinking, you need to indicate why that is the case. So you can't say angle 1 is equals to angle 2 without telling me why that is the case. So you need to always make sure that you write your statement and your reason. So please also go over that. Also, you need to know that you need to prove equal angles and equal sides. Remember that to find equal angles, it means the sides that those angles are opposite to must be equal. Similarly with, if I want to find the sides, I must make sure that the angles that they are opposite to are equal, or the sides subtend equal angles on the circumference of the circle. And then the last concept is the grade 12 Euclidean geometry, which is proportionality. We use this to talk about similarity and to prove ratios. There is a difference, grade 12s, between similarity and congruency. Remember, similarity is things that are in proportion, whereas congruency is things that are exactly the same. So those are things that you please need to make sure that you are aware of. Right, guys, that's all from me. I will hand over to Looney, and I will see you just after the break.
All right, thank you, Sia. Guys, let's take a quick break, and we'll see you straight after these.